Good. And any of you familiar with chelation therapy? You've either had it or you know someone who has had chelation therapy. Okay. All right. Well, as Dee put in the bulletin, both of my parents were chiropractors. And this story started, if my mother was still living today, she'd be 101. So the story of chiropractic in my family started, I guess, almost 100 years ago. My mother is British, and so most of her family lived in England and Northern Ireland. And my grandmother had problems with hearing, and she noticed that when she went to the chiropractor, her hearing would be restored. And so my mother was also a chiropractic patient. And she thought, well, no, this is interesting. So that's where it started, for my mother. And for my dad, he's from Winston County, Alabama. Any of you familiar with the history of Winston County, Alabama, free state of Winston? Well, that's another story. But anyway, my dad went to Auburn University for a few years and studied agriculture. And then he got a scholarship to Kansas State. And so he went there and got a degree in science education. And so he taught high school science for a few years. And he would get headaches. And someone said, well, why don't you go to that chiropractor in Haleyville? He'll help you. So we'd go to the chiropractor, and that would get rid of his headaches. And so after a while, he thought, well, I think I want to be a chiropractor. Mm-hmm. So he went to Palmer College in Davenport, Iowa, and that was the only chiropractic college in the world at that time. So all the others that you go to now, I think there's a Palmer College in California. I think there's a Palmer campus in Florida. And there's probably a good, 10, 15 chiropractic colleges. And there's also a chiropractic college in England that I know of, and maybe other parts of the world too. But anyway, so my dad goes to chiropractic college, and my parents meet in the freshman class of 1938. And my mother was, there may have been another woman in that class. But anyway, that's where my parents met. And then after a courtship of 8 years, and it probably wouldn't have taken that long, but World War II came along and extended their courtship. But anyway, my parents got married in 1944, and Mother had her own practice in Belfast, but she sold that to another chiropractor and came to Alabama. And she was already familiar with Alabama because during Christmas holidays, she would come home with my dad, and so she got to meet her future in-laws at that time. And one thing that just absolutely floored her was that people would say, well, you have certainly learned to speak English very well. And she was just appalled at their ignorance. And of course, this was before television, and there was radio at that time. But anyway, so she was familiar with Alabama and the humid heat and the summer and the ways of the people, and so she adjusted well enough to life in Alabama. And my parents learned several things in their practice along the way, and so I'm just going to share some of them with you, and you may have some interesting things to bring in our discussion. But I mentioned that my dad went to Auburn and learned some things about agriculture, and so when he and my mother got married, one thing she said was, you Americans, you use too many pesticides, and that this is not acceptable in Great Britain, and And so they cut that out, using it on the fruit trees. And they did, organic gardening. So she got him going on that. And my parents ended up having 8 acres. And they had a cow and some chickens. And so when I was growing up, we had milk straight from the cow and eggs, straight from the hen's nest. And, because my daddy just did not believe in, feeding animals hopped up feed, as he called it. So, so I got introduced to healthy eating. And also they learned about, white flour and white sugar and additives in food. And so we did not have, breakfast cereals. We had, cooked cereal, and we did not have cold drinks, Coca-Colas in our house. I mean, that was just as bad as having liquor, or even worse. So, so that's how I grew up. And of course, when patients would come in, my mother would take their case history, and of course, if they were into smoking, or they'd say, well, now you got to give this up, and you need to improve your diet, and you need to cut out pork. And so they promoted that, and I remember one big thing that came along when I was like in 5th grade. The city fathers wanted to fluoridate the drinking water. And so that was a red flag with my parents. And so they ran ads in the paper, and they gave information to their patients, but the fluoride was put in anyway. And luckily, we had our own water supply, so we did not have have to deal with that. So I remember my parents noticing that after the water was fluoridated, that there seemed to be more heart attacks among the people, and I remember one of our and of course he would always tell his patients, you'd have to go to a spring and get your own water, or haul it from the well, or get your own drinking water. And one of our patients, who was a real big kitty cat lover, she noticed that she always had water out for the kitty cats, and so she noticed that her cat started having these sickly kittens, and didn't live, or miscarriages, and so she started changing the water for the kitty cats, and the kitty cats started having healthy kittens again. So that was something that really educated her, was because it improved the health of the kitty cats. And also with fluoride, the way I understood it, you have sodium fluoride, which is a byproduct of aluminum, and it's also, I've heard, been used in rat poison, and it's used in some products. I understand, like Prozac, and because it helps people to, well, I say help, it makes them more, I guess, submissive, subservient. So there's there's calcium fluoride, which is used with a lot of dental treatments, which is not supposed to be as toxic, but it's still not, still not good news. And also, I did ask a question about vaccinations, vaccine injury, and so my parents learned about it in chiropractic college, I think my mother had smallpox vaccination, during World War One. And I don't know if my dad had any or not, but anyway, I remember in the 50s, they were giving polio shots at school.
They were giving what?
Polio.
Oh, polio.
I'm 68, so for some of you, it might be before your time. But they were doing that, and they would usually go, to the auditorium at recess, and so I think my brothers and I were probably the only ones in the school that did not get the vaccine. But we do know, my dad knew someone who, this kid, his parents didn't want him to have the polio shot, but everybody that got the polio shot, got ice cream. So he decided he got the polio shot too. So he got it. And a few days after that, he couldn't walk. And he started having difficulties, and so someone told him, well, you take him to Russellville to Dr. Bearden. And so after a few adjustments, he was able to walk again, but he still continued to have, some blackout spells. And one night,
Are you sure it was coming from the polio shot?
well, that's what they attributed it to.
That's when he started.
Yes. And of course, at that time, my parents didn't know about detoxing, but they did get him to where he could walk again. And then after that, this boy still had blackout spells. And one night, he just died in his sleep.
How old?
So he was about 13 years old then.
Wow.
And I remember going to his funeral. It was at First Methodist in Hamilton, Alabama. And I was about 10 years old then. So that made a big impression on me. And also after that, they quit giving polio shots at school because it seems like, maybe, kids started getting it. And they said, well, it'd be better if you'd had it at the office where you had more sanitary conditions. And so anyway, they did quit that at school. But I've heard rumors that, that these things are starting up again with the flu shots. So maybe in public school, but okay. And another thing that my parents learned along the way was about juicing. And they used to go to, they had to go to chiropractic seminars, so many hours to get their license renewed. And so they would have, different speakers come in, and so that they learned some things, from these seminars. And they also learned about a group called Natural Food Associates. So they, went to one of their conventions, and they learned about, raw juicing.
The what?
Raw juicing. And there was a little booklet written by Dr. H.M. Walker, and he lived to be over 100 years old. And in this little book, it talked about every kind of fruit or vegetable juice that there is, even potato juice, and the benefits of it. And so my mother got to where she would buy juicers. She got this plastic kind of the Golden Harvest Company. And so she would sell patients a juicer and a copy of Dr. Walker's book. And she got some really interesting results with that from patients. One of their patients, she just had all kinds of, sinus problems and headaches, and my daddy would do, what he could for her, and so she started drinking this juice. And then she started having all kinds of sinus problems and just all this drainage. And her mother said, oh, Janelle, she just has a terrible cold. And
That's the healing cycle taking you.
yeah. And so mother said, well, now just keep it up. And she said, oh, but we have to go to the bathroom all the time. And, well, you got to keep the sewer system cleaned out. And so anyway, one day, when Janelle was blowing her nose, for the millionth time, this green slug-looking thing came out. And what it was, she had had sinus surgery years ago. And after the sinus surgery, they packed her with gauze. And then, after a while, you're supposed to pull it out. And I guess that they never did pull out all of this, because apparently, as the body was healing, it probably healed around this gauze.
Mm.
And so, when she, finally, got rid of the gauze, then her sinuses, healed up.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. And, I'm not against, any kind of emergency surgery, someone might have, but, you hear stories of instruments being left in patients and things like that. So, anyway, she had this gauze left in her. And also, my mother had an interesting reaction. She noticed that when we started eating healthier, well, when she was pregnant with my brother, my second brother, I have 3 brothers, this gland in her neck, kind of was swelling. And then after they started eating healthier, eating the, freshly ground whole wheat flour, and, this went away. But then when she started juicing and drinking juice, this flared up again. And so, and then she noticed that under her tongue, it was just, really sore, and so, she looked under there, in the mirror, and she saw that this little white thing coming out, one of the ducts, underneath her tongue. And she got a sterile needle and did some poking, and a little rock came out.
What being a rock?
A rock. Calcium, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but she said that, she had some more stones, to come out. And she asked her dentist about it, because they're supposed to know all about the mouth. And he said, well, I never heard of anything like that. So, I don't know what needed to heal or, what that was, but, the body knows what the deficiencies are, and it knows how to heal. And not everyone has, a healing crisis like that. But, everyone is different, so, the body knows what to do. And let's see, and I mentioned, colonic irrigations. Okay, well, that's basically, cleaning out the colon. And I guess everyone's heard of, taking an enema. Well, you get a quart of water inside the rectum and let it, go through the colon, and then, go to the bathroom and, get it out. Well, with colonic irrigations, you have several, sometimes gallons of water that go through, but under, low pressure. And what we don't realize, or what I did not realize, was that you'll have a lot of things to clog up on the colon wall and to dry up. And so, you might have the beginning stages of cancer there. And so, my dad knew of a chiropractor in Birmingham that, did this. And so we all went and, you know, had that done, and this chiropractor said that, he noticed in the wastewater that, sometimes there'd be, you know, undigested vitamins. So I don't know if it's that those artificial vitamin C things or, but anyway, you know, keeping the colon planed out is, you know, pretty important. And I mentioned, you know, chelation therapy. Now my parents, you know, were not into that, but we knew of someone, or we were given information about someone that did that, and basically, I don't know if any of you have ever had an IV done. You know, they just stick a needle in you and they have a, you know, saline solution, you know, whatever, and it goes through your veins. And what the chelation therapy is, though, you have a solution and you have different minerals in there that will go in there, and it will, if you have any kind of, you know, buildup in the arteries and veins, it'll clean that out. And, you know, my mother had some, you know, circulation problems, and so she, you know, had this done. And she noticed that, you know, after that, you know, her hands and feet, which had previously been cold, all of a sudden got warm. And also she had been told that she had a vein in one of her legs that, you know, didn't look too good. And she said that she noticed after a while that, you know, with that leg, it was like, you know, trying to walk through a snowdrift. But after she had the chelation therapy done, you know, that vein, you know, whatever it was, you know, got cleared out. And so I think that probably helped to, you know, extend her life several years.
Didn't the doctor have to do that?
Yes, and yeah, Mother went to, you know, an osteopath. Yeah, he was one, you know, that had that done. And also there's a person in Huntsville that does that, Dr. Gray.
Dr. George on Bob.
Yes, yeah, Dr. George Gray. He's integrative medicine, and so he also does that. And let's see, I mentioned, well,
Grace, do you know if the insurance covers that chelation stuff?
I know when my mother went to the osteopath in, you know, the first osteopath, they said that New York Life Insurance, it would cover it. But she just decided to pay it out of pocket. And I think with Dr. Gray, you paid out of pocket, but you
Got reimbursed?
Yeah. You know, you have to deal with the insurance people, you know, to get reimbursed. So, and I mentioned standard process supplements. These are supplements that my parents used in their practice. And of course, there are more supplement companies now that are out, but they had all kinds of, I remember they had different supplements that had glandular products in them, which maybe isn't a good idea. But I remember she would give this, like, there's a product called Cardio Plus. And there's another product called LiveCo. And I remember Cardio Plus was supposed to help rebuild the heart. And LiveCo was supposed to help, you know, rebuild the liver. And there were also things, you know, for the thyroid gland and thymus gland. And there are, you know, other products out there, you know, similar to that now. But that was what they learned about in chiropractic college, and so that's what they used. And my parents never really got into herbal things very much. The herbal things became real big and popular like in the 80s and 90s. And by that time, my father was deceased, and my mother would still, see patients, by appointment only. She had a very small practice towards the end. But they never really got into herbal things. But I now understand the standard process has incorporated herbal things, and they even have supplements for animals. So, okay, that's about it.
Dr. Baldwin, when I first started going to him in 2005,
Mhm.
that's mostly what he, prescribed for me, standard process.
Mhm.
And, but then he went, a few years ago, he started making his own label,
Oh, okay.
and I was his garden label. But he still, I went to him not too long ago, he still prescribes standard process as well as this. So it's good quality.
Okay, good. I know Martha Whitney, any of you familiar with her?
Yeah.
Yeah, she does some of her own products. She's had a lot of courses on it, and so she's a pretty sharp cookie as far as, yes.
Do you know what you can use instead of fluoride on your teeth for like exposed root and, sensitivity other than fluoride?
I know there is.
Than fluoride like toothpaste?
Okay, well, as far as the fluoride toothpaste, there are, I guess, organic ones.
Jason and Tom's.
Okay.
and for
Yeah, but
sensitive.
they really, they don't stop the pain.
If
The
there's
only thing that,
sensitive, I don't know, I
Try Young Living. They have
I haven't
no,
tried the
I mean, there's
sensitive
all
one,
kinds
but
of
I
organic
used the,
toothpaste.
and.
There's not one that stops, where you have raw exposed root,
Mhm.
and the fluoride fills in the gaps and stops it just right away.
Something else you can do, because I had a tooth one time that messed up on me, and I read in a book what to do. They said chlorophyll, but they said first thing you've got to do is clean it out. So I took what they said, I took charcoal tablets, you got to get it without sugar, and I chewed it into it, which kind of hurt. But then after I did that, it cleaned it out. And then I took barley grass, just the total barley grass powder, and chewed it into it. I did that several times and it totally healed. And then when I was working for Dr. Robertson, a lady called, said she was having a problem. I told her the same thing. She did it and it totally healed. Chlorophyll, what it does, it heals the bones and teeth.
Kills what?
It heals, H-E-A-L-S.
Oh, I thought you said kill.
No, it heals the bones and teeth, chlorophyll. This is why he's having such good results, because he's using the barley grass, the wheatgrass and the barley grass.
Exposed root,
Mhm.
that is bone. What?
You try it, you'll see, you'll be amazed. See, the root goes down into the bone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you'll be amazed how it works. It does work.
Is it a powder that you're?
Yeah, it's a powder. Mhm. But first you gotta do the charcoal, because see, the charcoal, like this guy was saying about, like if you get an abscess is kind of like a pimple, it's pus. Yeah, it's kind of gross. Pus is, yeah, so what you do is you chew the charcoal down in there, it'll take it out, and then you do the barley grass or the wheat grass to help build it back up.
Chlorophyll.
The chlorophyll. And it's chlorophyll. It's something green. Green is so important.
How does it heal it, though? It puts something back that
Mhm.
got washed away?
Mhm, mhm,
I mean, exposed root is when your gum line recedes.
mhm.
I have that.
Well, see what happens, the way God made our bodies, they heal. Like your teeth, like a lot of people don't believe it, your teeth actually grow. Everything grows in your body. If it doesn't grow, it dies. But if you try it, you'll be amazed.
That's really, you just do it once?
Oh, no, you have to do it several times. But you just do the charcoal, you know. I did the charcoal about 3 times, but then I did the barley grass. I did it a couple days.
Okay, first you do the charcoal, and then you do the barley grass after it?
Yeah, after you
Same
do the
day?
charcoal, well, you do the charcoal, I did the charcoal about 3 times for one day. Then I went ahead and did the barley grass.
On the, like, for a few days after?
Mhm. But you will see instant relief. You'll be amazed. Well, at least I did. You know, and they were telling me I needed a root canal. No, that tooth healed and everything. I didn't get a root canal. Root canals are very dangerous, very, very dangerous. And folks, anything they put in, like a lot of people don't realize our body is not, everything we do affects our body, everything. And the one thing that will tear your body up quicker than anything is to be bitter or hatred about something. You know? If you're having a hard time with your boss or somebody, let it go, let it go. Pray for them. Like, I have this one client, she has all kinds of problems, but her biggest problem is she's got to pray for these people and let it go. If it actually, stress will tighten those cells up and it kill you. It will kill you.
Grudges are poison.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Grudge. Oh, grudge.